Sunday dinner was supposed to be peaceful. Mother arranged the table like a magazine photo. Silver forks, crystal glasses, polished smiles. Father checked the wine temperature 3 times. My brother Ethan arrived late, as always. He walked in with a grin too wide to trust. "Big news," he said, waving his phone like a trophy. "A new startup platform, revolutionary concept." Mother clapped her hands, eyes shining with pride. Father nodded, pretending to understand the words. Ethan turned to me, voice lowering into charm. "I just need a small investment, 18,000. The number hit harder than his smile. I'd heard that number before, different pitch each time. "Not this again," I said quietly. His grin faltered, then hardened. "Come on, sis, you're the one with the big salary." Mother's gaze sharpened like glass. "Lena, your brother just needs a little help." Help, that word again, always meaning surrender. I set my fork down, metal clinking too loud. "No," I said, "not this time." The room froze like a photograph. Father cleared his throat but said nothing. Ethan's laugh came out thin and sharp. "You think you're better than us now?" I looked at him and saw a stranger. A man who lived off excuses and borrowed sympathy. "I think I'm tired," I said. Mother's voice dropped to a whisper full of venom. "After everything we've done for you. Done for me, or done to me." I remembered the college fund they emptied. The loan I repaid alone at 21. The Christmas they called me ungrateful for saying no. Every favor was just another debt disguised as love. Ethan leaned forward, face flushed red. "You wouldn't even have your job without us." I smiled without humor. "You're right, I earned it." Mother's hand trembled around her wine glass. Father folded his napkin too neatly. They looked like a portrait of disappointment. But underneath their control, I felt something shift. The quiet rebellion I'd buried for years surfaced. "I'm done funding your dreams," I said. Mother's voice cracked into steel. "If you walk out that door, you'll regret it." I stood, heart pounding steady and clear. "Maybe, but at least the regret will be mine." Ethan slammed his palm against the table. "Don't you dare talk to her like that." I walked past him without flinching. Their voices followed me down the hall, shrill and desperate. Outside, the air felt like truth, cold and sharp. For the first time in years, I didn't look back. The city lights blinked like warnings or promises. I couldn't tell which yet, but I knew something irreversible had begun. That night, I tore their names from my emergency contacts and slept better than I had in months. In the silence, a new voice whispered inside me. Not fear, not guilt, just freedom learning to breathe. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Unknown numbers, voicemails full of guilt. Mother's voice trembled with rehearsed concern. "Sweetheart, we just want to talk." Talk meant surrender, and I was done surrendering. I deleted every message and stared at my reflection. Same face, same eyes, but something had changed. I wasn't the daughter they could manipulate anymore. Still, fear sat heavy in my chest. I needed help, someone who knew their games. That's when I remembered Aunt Clara. Mother's sister, the family ghost no one mentioned. She disappeared after a fight 20 years ago. Mother called her unstable. I called her now. The phone rang 4 times before a calm voice answered. "Lena Winters speaking." "Aunt Clara, it's Lena." Silence, then a soft breath of surprise. "You sound just like your grandmother," she said. Tears burned behind my eyes. "I need help. They're trying to take everything." Her tone shifted, firm but kind. "Start from the beginning, sweetheart." I told her about the petition, the accusations, the lies. Every word felt like opening an old wound. She listened without interrupting, the way no one ever had. When I finished, she said, "You came to the right person." I blinked at the words. "You believe me." "I don't just believe you," she said. "I've lived it." Her story spilled out like a warning. Mother had done the same thing to her years ago. Gaslighting, financial control, public humiliation. Clara fought back and walked away for good. "Meet me tomorrow," she said. "We'll start fighting this properly." The next day, I met her in a quiet office downtown. Law books lined the walls like sentinels. Beside her sat another woman, sharp-eyed and confident. "This is Rachel Moss," Clara said. "My colleague." Rachel spread the petition papers across the desk. "This is a textbook case of financial abuse," she said. "They want legal control to drain your accounts safely." Her words cut deep but clean. Clara reached over and squeezed my hand. "They'll make you doubt yourself. That's their favorite weapon." I nodded, my throat tight. Rachel handed me a folder. "We'll file for delay, buy time." She looked me straight in the eyes. "But you need to gather proof, everything they ever took." That night, I tore through old drawers and boxes. Receipts, transfers, emails from Ethan asking for small favors. 10 years of quiet theft stacked on my kitchen table. Each page told a story I'd tried to ignore. Ethan's fake companies, my parents' signatures on my accounts. It wasn't concern, it was calculation. At midnight, I called Clara again. "I found everything," I whispered. "Good," she said. "Now we make them answer for it." Her voice steadied me in a way nothing else could. I looked at the pile of papers and felt something ignite. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was justice waiting its turn. Something went wrong while generating the response. "If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help. OpenAI.com retry." The morning sun barely touched the blinds when Clara called. "Come to my office," she said. "You need to see this." Her voice was steady, but something in it trembled. I drove there in silence, heart thudding like a warning. 2 documents waited on her desk, side by side. "This is your original birth certificate," she said. "And this," her finger tapped the second page, "is the revised one." The first listed a man named Michael Tran as my father. The second, filed 6 years later, named Daniel Lee instead. My stomach twisted into knots. "They changed it," I whispered. "They changed my identity." Clara nodded slowly, "And they did it for a reason." She opened another folder filled with accounting records. Numbers, dates, transactions, all leading to one conclusion. Half of my grandmother's inheritance was meant for me. $400,000 hidden under the family trust. "Guess who accessed it?" Clara asked quietly. "Ethan, my brother, over 8 years of withdrawals. Small amounts first, then larger, always business expenses." My hands trembled as I scanned the signatures. Each one forged with precision, my name stolen again and again. "They used your inheritance to keep his companies afloat," Clara said. My throat tightened, anger mixing with disbelief. "So that's why they needed control," I said, "to finish the job." Rachel entered the room holding a thick envelope. "They sent this an hour ago," she said. "A settlement offer." Inside, legal jargon buried a single message: silence for money. They wanted me to sign a non-disclosure and walk away. "Generous, isn't it?" Rachel said bitterly. Clara shook her head. "It means they're scared." I couldn't breathe for a moment. Years of manipulation, collapsing under the weight of truth. "They stole my past, my name, and my future," I said. Clara's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "And now they'll answer for every stolen cent." The office phone rang, breaking the silence. Clara picked up, listening for a long moment. "That was Daniel," she said after hanging up. "He begged to keep this private, promised it was all Susan's idea." I almost laughed, cowardice disguised as guilt. "Let them panic," Rachel said. "We're filing our counterclaim today. Full audit, fraud investigation, subpoenas for everyone involved." The air in the room shifted, sharp and electric. Clara opened her laptop, fingers flying across the keys. "We'll include Jessica," she said. "Ethan's ex, she saw things." The name hit me like a bell. Jessica, the girl who once looked at Ethan like he hung the stars. What could she know? I asked. Clara looked up, eyes cold as glass. Enough to burn the rest of their lives down. Outside, the wind howled against the window. Inside, I signed the motion papers with steady hands. For the first time, the power wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine, and I intended to use it. The courtroom felt colder than I remembered. Rows of polished wood, whispers crawling like smoke. Mother sat in the front, her face a masterpiece of sorrow. Father avoided my eyes, his hands clasped too tightly. Ethan leaned back with fake calm, a predator pretending peace. Their lawyer spoke first, voice smooth and practiced. My clients are only concerned for their daughter's well-being. Concern, the word twisted like a knife in my chest. Mother dabbed invisible tears, whispering to the judge. She's been distant, obsessed with work, paranoid about money. Ethan nodded, expression dripping sympathy. She needs help, Your Honor. We just want to protect her. Rachel rose slowly, calm but sharp as broken glass. Let's talk about protection, she said. Who's protecting her from you? The first document flashed on the projector, bank records in red ink. Transfers, forged signatures, loans I never approved. Mother's posture stiffened, Ethan's jaw twitched. Rachel's voice cut through the silence. $400,000, a trust fund meant for Lena Tran. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Rachel continued, relentless. Instead, that money fed Ethan's companies. Companies that don't exist anymore, she added, turning to the judge. The lawyer objected, words tripping over panic. Overruled, said the judge, his tone flat as stone. Rachel nodded to the bailiff. Please bring in our next witness. The doors opened, and Jessica walked in. Ethan's face drained of color. She clutched a flash drive like it burned her hand. Mr. Lee, Rachel said, do you recognize this witness? Ethan tried to smile. An old friend. Jessica's voice trembled but didn't break. He used Lena's identity to open credit cards. I saw him forge her name. He laughed about it. Gasps echoed across the room. Rachel pressed play on the audio recording. Ethan's voice filled the courtroom, bragging about borrowing her info. Then Mother's voice followed, low and instructive. Just ask for $18,000. She'll give in eventually. The color drained from every face at the plaintiff's table. The judge leaned forward, eyes hard. Mrs. Lee, care to explain this? Mother opened her mouth, but no words came out. Father muttered, it was Susan, she handled everything. Her mask cracked, fury flashing through her tears. You coward, she hissed before catching herself. The judge banged his gavel once. This petition is dismissed with prejudice. His voice carried finality like thunder. And I'm referring this case to the district attorney. Silence fell heavier than any sound before it. Ethan's lawyer stood frozen. Mother collapsed against the rail, shaking with rage. Father stared at the floor, smaller than I'd ever seen him. The bailiff guided Ethan toward the exit, wrists trembling. I sat still, heart strangely quiet. Not victory, not joy. Just the end of something that should have died years ago. Outside, sunlight hit the marble floor like forgiveness. Clara placed a hand on my shoulder. You did it, she whispered. I looked back at the courtroom one last time. And for the first time, I felt completely free. A year later, the city felt different. The skyline glowed like it was breathing again. My apartment stood high above the noise, quiet and bright. The name on my mailbox read Lena Winters. A name that finally belonged to me. The furniture was warm, soft, and mine alone. No trace of my mother's taste, no reminders of guilt. I poured tea and watched the sunrise through clean glass. The morning light touched a framed certificate on the wall. Name change, official and complete. I smiled without the heaviness of the past. Freedom had a texture, and I could feel it in the air. Clara visited every Sunday with her box of tea. She said it kept us grounded, reminded us we survived. Sometimes we sat in silence, just breathing the calm. Other times, we laughed until tears blurred everything. My therapist called it healing. I called it peace. On the desk, near the window, lay the foundation papers. The Financial Freedom Network would open next month. A place for people like me, those who'd been used and silenced. I wanted to turn pain into purpose, scars into structure. Clara said my grandmother would have been proud. I believed her, maybe for the first time. A box sat near the fireplace, marked old life. Inside were journals, photos, and letters from before. Each page carried the ghost of who I used to be. I fed them to the fire one by one. Smoke curled upward, soft as a farewell. The girl in those pages had begged to be loved. The woman watching the flames no longer needed to beg. Ethan's face appeared on the news last month. A headline about fraud, probation, and silence. Mother filed for divorce soon after. Father moved somewhere quiet, far from the city. Their absence didn't hurt. It only confirmed the truth. Family can be blood, or it can be a wound. I chose to stop bleeding. The doorbell rang, and Clara stepped in smiling. "Ready for your next chapter?" she asked. I nodded and handed her an envelope. It was a letter from Daniel. Apologies, regrets, promises. Without opening it, I dropped it into the return box. Some words don't deserve to be read. That evening, my friends filled the living room. We toasted with cheap wine and loud laughter. "To the families we build," Clara said, glass raised high. I repeated the words softly, letting them settle inside me. Later, when everyone left, the city lights called me outside. The air was cool, tasting like beginnings. Stars flickered above the skyline, small but certain. I leaned on the railing, feeling the world move forward. Mother once said, "Winter's women don't stand alone." She was wrong. I stood alone and I was whole. The past didn't vanish, but it no longer owned me. A shooting star traced the sky, bright and brief. For the first time, I didn't make a wish. I already had everything I needed. Night settled over the city like a quiet confession. The lights below shimmered, steady and alive. I stood on the balcony, the wind brushing my hair. It no longer whispered fear, it carried freedom. The scars of the past still lived under my skin, but they no longer defined the way I breathed. The world felt wide again, full of untouched corners. My reflection in the glass didn't flinch anymore. The woman staring back knew her own worth. No permission, no apology, just truth. Somewhere out there, my family carried their silence. I carried peace, and it weighed nothing. The stars looked closer than they ever had before. Maybe they'd always been waiting for me to look up. I closed my eyes and let the air fill my lungs. Every breath was proof that I'd survived myself. Every heartbeat whispered, "You made it." I turned away from the city and walked inside. Tomorrow would come, ordinary and bright. And for once, that was enough.